Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rat's Nest. Today, we have an amazing light novel review for you guys, right? Mushoku Tensei Volume 10. All right, now a little bit of backstory with me and Mushoku Tensei. Mushoku Tensei is my favorite light novel, hands down. It's my favorite story of any story I've ever read. I sometimes call it my favorite manga and favorite anime. That's not entirely fair because the anime, season 1 was absolutely phenomenal. I loved every second of it. It's not done yet, and the manga, people have mixed feelings on the manga. I'll probably make a video one day talking about my thoughts on the Mushoku Tensei manga. I can't call it my favorite manga, just again because it's not complete. But no, the light novel is my favorite light novel. I'm completely caught up through the web novel, and all the different side stories I've read: Redundancy, Old Dragon's Tale, Oblige. I think there's one that I'm missing. I'm not entirely certain. It can be kind of hard to keep up with the side stories. But yeah, basically, I know Mushoku Tensei, so I know I put a spoiler card at the beginning of the video. So heavy spoilers from Mushoku Tensei throughout this, because I know the series, and I'm going to talk about the series. But yeah, my favorite series, I absolutely love Book 10. I remember with the web novel, I'm pretty sure it was web novel volume 10, covered some of the stuff that's in this book. But it was a lot short. It was the shortest volume of the web novel. I read it in entirety. First time I read through the web novel, I read it in French class. French class sophomore year. I've since gone back and reread the web novel all the way through, and it was absolutely phenomenal. I don't want to say I read it in one period. It was longer than that, but man, it wasn't much longer than that, But yeah, so no, let's get right into it. So another preface right before we start. I read the first half of this before I even planned on doing this channel. So my notes on it are a little bit lighter than my notes on the second half. But you guys probably won't even notice because that's just how bad I am at taking notes. So let's see here. Let's stay in a position where my mic can actually pick me up. That's crazy. So yeah, we start off after the end of Volume 9. Volume 9 was absolutely phenomenal. I love Volume 9. I love all of Mushoku Tensei. But yeah, so Rudeus and Sylphy have officially gotten together, and the erectile dysfunction arc is over. The erectile dysfunction arc hits different. Can't wait for it to be animated. But yeah, no, to see him get his confidence back and to see him kind of walk into the classroom and for everyone to notice. And you know how funny Mushoku Tensei with Linnea and Persena going dude, bro, you reek right now, bro. You are reeking, dude. It's really nice to see him go in there and to see kind of how those relationships have developed to the point where they can tell that okay, Rudeus is back. And then he meets with Ariel and Luke, and so he walks into the meeting lunch. I love Ariel and Luke, and kind of how they're always portrayed to be these big dignified people. But whenever you see inside, you can kind of see what's really going on there, and coming back out and how normal they are. And yeah, no, that entire scene was good. Like I said, this was a while ago I read this, so I can't remember too much of the specifics. But I know that it's just another classic case of Rudeus being Rudeus around people. And he proposes to Sylphy, and that's how he does it. Classic Mushoku Tensei fashion, where it just happens. But yeah, no, it's a super great scene. But yeah, that's how they get engaged, and that's the crazy part, especially because it just happened. And then we get to the house tour. As I wrote in my notes, I just wrote house tour because I just jotted some stuff down on the first half before I started recording this. House tour. No, yeah, dude, the house. This is kind of so. The first 6. I refer to Mushoku Tensei in volumes. I'm used to referring to it like that. The first 6 volumes of Mushoku Tensei are kind of the setup of the world. Eris best girl, by the way. And then you have the erectile dysfunction arc, otherwise known as the school arc. It sets up kind of the rest of the series. You get introduced to a lot of characters and places. Obviously, you go to Renoa, where Rudeus lives for the rest of his life, and now we're getting the house that he lives in. And it's so cool for me to see this house and to just know in the future that him and all his wives. He's a player. dude is busting it down literally. and his kids, and it's crazy cool to see that, and getting to see the relationship between Rudeus, Zenoba, and Cliff is just awesome. I love those three. I love it when series can give the main character bros and not just hoes. And so it's always awesome to see those three together, especially knowing stuff that happens later. Just really seeing their friendship, it's really awesome. I love Zenoba and Cliff so much. And yeah, the doll. I wrote down here in my name. I'm pretty sure it was the Mad Dragon King Chaos that forget, it might have been Maxwell. I'm pretty sure it was Chaos that had this house. Could be completely wrong. It could be Maxwell. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was the Mad Dragon King. I can't remember who that was. I think it was Chaos. That owned this house. And so that's a bit cool, old Dragon's Tale and stuff and all that. But yeah, we get to see the doll that causes some problems later on, but it also helps Nanahoshi, and we'll get to this. Nanahoshi complete her summoning thing. So I mean, just a ton of it's a cool action set piece too. Just a really good all around. Then we have the marriage ceremony. This was very nice. It's like I said with the friends, it's always nice to see series give main characters friends. And I'm kind of speaking specifically of isekais and stuff like that, because so often it's just the main character and his side chicks. But Mushoku Tensei, like they give them friends. Off the top of my head, there was Body came, Linnea Persena, there was Nanahoshi, Ariel, Luke, and then the two maids, Ellen Elise, Cliff, and I'm forgetting someone, right? Aren't I? I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, Julie and Zenoba. Yeah, that's right. And so, it was so much fun to see all these different characters interact. I can't remember exactly whenever we see the two Sylphy's friends again. But I mean, it's weird to have them in with all these other main characters, and seeing Body there having a good time, man. That hits different. Especially because this is, we'll get to it. This is, as far as I remember, the last volume we see him until we get the reveal he's the fighting god and the last boss. And it's just, man, it's just such a nice scene, seeing them all get together, and especially after the whole Rudeus, the erectile dysfunction arc, and him getting left by Eris, to see him not only find happiness with Sylphy, but to see him, have all these friends here and really set up for himself. It's super nice, and seeing all the characters. And also, we get the revelation that Ellen Elise is Sylphy's grandma. I completely forgot about that until just came to mind. That was crazy the first time I read it. I was a bit confused at the first time. But no, it's cool. It adds more to Ellen Elise's and Sylphy's character. It gives Sylphy more family other than just Rudeus, and that's cool. And obviously Ellen Elise becomes a main player later on, and she's just such a great character. And this adds to it. Really, it shows a lot of her depth. It's not her death, no. As far as I know, she hasn't died. I don't remember that happening. It shows a lot of her character depth too. With her crying to Sylphy and breaking down there. That was just such a great scene, and I really enjoyed it. So here we have, after this, there might have been something that happened in the middle. I can't really remember. This is kind of the midpoint where I kind of started picking up, but I can't remember exactly where. So Rudeus, being around the house and just kind of some of his daily life there, it really shows us how much he's grown. I mean, the dude who died, I guess 16 years ago at this point, he wouldn't have been able to do this. And that, it just goes to show Rudeus's character growth. And even from him, just being around and doing stuff and being a house husband a little bit. And him specifically, I wrote down here, him thinking about his parents moving in with him. That's just, one, it's sad. But it really shows how much he's grown and how much he's done. Here's this guy that used to feed off of his parents, and it was awful. And now he has his own house. He has his own wife. He's planning he can have his parents move in with him once they're done. I mean, it's insane to see his growth, and it's such a small little segment of it, but it says a lot, and I really enjoy it. And then we get to Paul's letter. Oh man, beginning of the end, eh? I love Paul very, very much. And his letter, man, it's pure Paul. I love anything with Paul in it. I love Rudeus interacting with Paul. It's just always great stuff, and him, being like, I can't remember exactly what the letter said, but entrusting Aisha and Norn to Rudeus, it really says a lot about his trust in him and kind of the lesson that he learned. It's a mix of the lesson that he learned and the expectation he already had from Volume 5. And it was really good to check in on Paul. It's been a second since we saw him. And to know that he's going to Begarit to save Zenith, it's always good keeping Lilia with him. This is kind of, like I said, the beginning of the end, kind of the quote unquote first half of Mushoku Tensei, which in my opinion ends after Volume 12, where it's kind of, the displacement incident is winding down. Everything with Roa is winding down, and really I think that's how it needs to be at this point. The ED arc, it kind of focused on it a little bit. Really, it was a lot of setup for the rest of Mushoku Tensei. And so, while it was definitely good that it still focused on it, it definitely is a switch that needs to be made. And yeah, Paul's letter, it's just more Paul. It's great, really. Like I said, I love seeing anything Paul, and I know Ruijerd, but it's pretty heavily implied that it's Ruijerd. Even if I didn't know, I think I could guess, but obviously not confirmation until later. So then we have, so that's right. This is also where I'm looking at my notes here. Is Rudeus, does he ever become a god tier mage? I think so. All right. This is more a discussion for later books. But does he? I certainly believe so. He becomes the seventh of the world of the seven great powers, and that's phenomenal. And I didn't think so, right? He's never given the title of whatever god, and that's completely fine. With the term god, does he really deserve it? I don't know. But I mean, at the end, he did beat the North God. He did beat the North God. I would say that if him and Gino really fought, he would probably win. But I just don't know. It's a hard scale to go by. I definitely don't see him beating Randolph, where we don't really know the Death God powers. And I assume that Sieg at the end of Oblige is still number 5 on the World Great Powers. We just don't know, and I don't think we'll know until the sequel series. But is Rudeus a god tier mage? Definitely with is it Mark 0 that's the end? Whatever the final version of his power armor is. I'd say definitely 100%. This is the analogy that I really liked. with his mana, it's like strapping a jet engine onto a car. I mean, yeah, you won't have the fuel tanks to support it, and even if you did, it would just destroy the car. What do you call it? No, it was the fuel tank. That's right, yeah. But it's such a good analogy, and I really like using it for Rudeus because it fits him so well. Next up, we have Nanahoshi's breakdown, dude. Nanahoshi Morbs. All right, so up to this point in the story, Nanahoshi has definitely been a figure, and it's been very fun to see her. And she hasn't played too big of a part so far. I mean, well, I don't know. She was at Turning Point 2, wasn't she? She was at Turning Point 2, yeah. So yeah, Turning Point 2, obviously huge. She has played a big part, and especially her being from Japan, you definitely get more into kind of sequel territory with her, since Nanahoshi is heavily implied to be a main character in the sequel, same as Lara. It's very cool to see her here, and I think that all of this stuff that happens in the past is definitely going to add to her in the future. And it's been cool to see her so far, and obviously her being from Japan too, and I really enjoyed the scene when she kind of introduces herself to Rudeus there. But this is the first time that we get a lot of characterization out of her, is whenever she has her breakdown. She fails, and Rudeus is Rudeus being Rudeus is calm and collected, at least in his mind as he presents it to us. And then, she has a breakdown, and she almost kills herself, and that's just, Rudeus is scared that she will. He takes her to the infirmary, and one thing that really stuck with me was how Zenoba was like, dude, you look bad. And Rudeus here, I think I wrote down the line. It's like, what kind of face am I making? And Zenoba's such a bro. I wrote that down. I wrote plus Zenoba's a bro. He is, man, and taking that with the champ, I think it affected Rudeus a lot, not just because Nanahoshi was from Japan, but also because she kind of reminded him of himself and how he used to be. He always refers to her as Shudden, and obviously the connection there, and it's just, I think it really goes to show how much potential there is. So obviously, this story is from Rudeus' perspective, but what are other people's perspective of him? What's stuff that they don't tell us? And that's the interesting question presented here, where it takes other people mentioning something for us to realize, oh, Rudeus was like deeply affected by this. He's calm, easygoing, and all that. It takes the other people saying stuff to really realize, okay, like this has gotten to him. And I think that that's just part of it. And Nanahoshi, she's basically brain dead for a while, and Rudeus helps her out. And I think, this gets into something. What exactly right next? Layered magic circles. Well, yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there, notes me. I want to talk about this for a second. And yeah, so he moves her into his house with Sylphy's permission, of course. That wouldn't fly later, but it flies now. Haha, funny banana Hoshi. And it's so sad to see her like that, and to see how much Rudeus obviously cares for her. Again, probably, not just because she's from Japan, but also because she reminds her of himself. But yes, then we get into the layered magic circles, which is what I was talking about earlier with the doll. And I think this concept is so cool, and it's kind of just like a natural evolution of like the idea of magic circles having the layers. Especially in this world, it makes so much sense. And for Rudeus, again, to brainstorm with Zenoba and Cliff, and like I said, I love whenever they're in the story, for them to brainstorm and for them to come up with the idea, mainly through Zenoba coming from the doll. I think it's great. And then having nice Discord notification there. I think it's great, and just having what am I trying to say here? Yeah, and having Cliff be like the genius of it, but having Zenoba give him that idea, and not only working towards Nanahoshi, but also working towards Cliff's eventual goal of the magic item for Ellen Elise. It's just, it provides a lot of groundwork for stuff that comes later, and that's super cool. And then how it finally breaks Nanahoshi out of her stupor, and how she talks with Cliff about it, and even Zenoba's he's like, yeah, I'm not a genius in this regard. He's like, that's Cliff, and I really enjoyed that. And then, you have Nanahoshi coming up and apologizing to Rudeus for being in trouble. And this is where my next note comes in handy. Could Banana Hoshi and Rudy ever have gotten together? I 100% think so. What did I write here? Plastic. Oh, yeah, plastic. We'll get there. I definitely think they could have. And that's the interesting thing about Mushoku Tensei is obviously with Hitogami and all that, it feels like Rudeus is being herded down one path, but we kind of get a glimpse of it. Oh my gosh, can Discord shut up 1 second? Okay, I'm back. I had to mute Discord for a second right there. I ain't about to play that game. I was like, I definitely think they could have, and especially with Orsted later, seeing kind of the different timelines that Mushoku Tensei could have gone down. It's very interesting to think like what could have gone different, like with Hitogami manipulating everything, but ultimately Rudeus has a lot of choice in all of this. Could he and Nanahoshi could have gotten together? I definitely think so. I think it was definitely a possibility. Well, obviously it was never the author's intention, and it never happened. I think that the seeds were there to where it was feasible, and obviously we'll get her proper love interest in the sequel series. But I think that this was an interesting avenue. But yeah, they summon the plastic bottle. They're successful, and that that's crazy because again, this sets up stuff later and sets up stuff for the sequel series. But it's so cool to see Nanahoshi succeed, and once again to get that concrete connection between this world and ours and their old world. And that's one of the things that I love about it. I've seen so many isekai. It's really not even funny. And I always enjoy it whenever they connect it back to the old world, the world they came from. I always enjoy that. And obviously with Mushoku Tensei, that's not really the point. I can talk about that more in different series like Arisudeta. I love Arisudeta. The light novel. And it's so cool to see whenever that happens. Because, to see characters like completely from this world, like Zenobia and Cliff, to see like a plastic bottle. It's like, yo, dude, I see that, bro. I know that, bro. Dude, I know that. I know that. I know that one, dude. It's just to see that's really cool to me, to see that connection, and to know that the author isn't just completely forgetting about the old world. I really enjoy that, and I really appreciate it. Oh yeah, that's right. And then next we have the celebration and body. And I can't really remember much about this. It's just them going, oh, yep, nope, I remember. Yeah, no, it's coming back to me. It's coming back to me now. And just, so seeing them celebrate and all that with Body in the tavern, it's so nice. I love Body very much. I love everything he's done during the erectile dysfunction arc. And it's very sad to see him go at the end of the book. And obviously knowing when we see him next. But he's such a fun character to have around, and especially it just shows show how good of a character he is, not just writing wise, but like just how good he is, that he's willing to celebrate this, and it says a lot about his character, and it's so good and it's so nice. And Rudeus and Sylphy drink a little bit too much, and this gets us into the final little section of the book when we reunited with Norn and Aisha. Man, I love Norn and Aisha. Whenever it comes to Rudeus' family, obviously I love Paul. I've already said that. I love it whenever whenever Rudeus interacts with his family. Because here's this guy from another world, but here's his family in this world. And again, it is done so little, especially in the direct transportation stories. You can't do anything about that. But in the reincarnation story, it is done so rarely, and it's rarely done well whenever it is done. And that's part of the thing I love about Mushoku Tensei, is I love Rudeus interacting with his family, and especially seeing the different dynamics there of Paul and then Zenith and Lilia, and then Norn and Aisha, who I think I really enjoy their dynamic of Aisha being another genius like Rudeus, though Rudeus is a genius for a different reason. Aisha being a genius, and then Norn just being normal, and Norn being Rudeus' like full sibling. I think that's really cool. I really like Norn and Aisha's characters, how they grow. I can't remember, I think it's book 11 probably, where Norn gets closer to Rudeus, and through the shared experience of her becoming a shut-in. And I think that's... All right, I'm back. I had to. My dog started barking, so I had to feed her. Anyways, I was talking about Norn and Aisha, I believe. So yeah, I love their characters. I love their characters going forward, and even in people. Oh my gosh, I will make a video about this someday. I'll have to reread it and refresh myself on all of it. But people give the Aisha redundancy way too much shit, dude. It is a good story that I think should have gotten the obliged treatment. I think it should have been its own thing. I think it should have been longer, because it's a good plot point. It's a good part of the story. It's good stuff, right? And I will make a video on that one day. I promise. It's good stuff. I love where their characters go, but obviously right now we don't have to deal with that. Aris isn't even alive yet. Love their introduction. Love how immediately Norn hates Rudeus again, and that that's the recurring theme, at least for the first couple. However long of whenever they meet, but getting to see Ruijerd again is just awesome. And their introduction, where Rudeus is with Sylphy and not Eris, and that sets Ruijerd off a little bit. He's just like, hey bro, okay. And getting to see them talk and Rudeus to reunite with Ruijerd, it's really nice. But obviously Eris isn't there. And that does set Ruijerd off a bit. It sets me off a bit too. Eris is the best girl. But I do like how Ruijerd tells Rudeus, she's not good with her words, right? He's like, if she comes back, he said. Well, I think this is what Rudeus said. He was like, if she comes back, I'll listen to her. But Rudeus is completely right. Whether or not she's good with her words, it doesn't excuse what she did to him. And it's such an incredibly complex situation, and obviously weighs on Rudeus. And Ruijerd bringing that up, it definitely puts a damper on their reunion. And we don't really get much more of a reunion for them until like much later, whenever we go to the Spurred Village. And so, that's kind of another sad, melancholy thing about this, where, well, it is really good for them to reunite. To say Rudeus is a different person, not entire, because Rudeus is still Rudeus, but it's such a different position from whenever they left each other. And that's part of what I think makes it so good, is that it's pretty realistic, honestly. And so then they reunite, they talk, and then Ruijerd says that he's leaving tomorrow. Classic Ruijerd there. But still, it's sad. It is a blow to Rudeus, and like I said before, it's sad. We finally get to see Ruijerd again after all this time, and to see him go. We kind of feel the same thing Rudeus is like, really, you're going already? At this point, whenever I was reading it for the first time, I thought, okay, so Ruijerd's about to become like, a recurring cast member, kind of similar to like Body Gotti, or we'll get to Body. But obviously he didn't, and that's the sad thing. And then wake up the next morning, and he's out there with Body, and this is a sad scene. I'll admit that I am a bit confused, even having read everything, why he's like, so that's how it is, because as far as I remember, Body's already an apostle at this point, I'm pretty sure. Even if he's not like a direct one, he is. But yeah, so I will say I'm a bit confused with that aspect, and him leaving. I can't remember what Ruijerd has to do with that, because Body can't see the future to know that Ruijerd's daughter helps Orsted defeat Laplace. I can't really remember, but it's still a very sad scene, because I as far as I remember, this is the last time we see Body before it's revealed he's the fighting god and becomes the final villain. And it's just, to see a character go out like that, especially so suddenly, it's similar to Ruijerd, where he just kind of comes in and leaves. But Body, he's been here for a while. He's become an established cast character and really a friend to Rudeus. So to see him leave like that is really sad. And then obviously we get Ruijerd's farewell with Norn, and Norn being like, I don't want to leave you. And obviously knowing redundancy, like okay, Ruijerd, we get it. But it is sad, and it definitely it's kind of a baseline for Norn's character going forward. And this is a moment that, in hindsight, knowing everything that happens before, just really shows her growth. And it's really it's good, because it doesn't leave it ambiguous, kind of how she felt before. It's plainly stated she would rather be with Ruijerd than Rudeus. And at this point in the story, that's completely, that's just, that's how it is. I do like how it's explicitly stated, and how it's presented, again, just as a benchmark for how far Norn comes in the future. And then we have so that's the stuff. I'm trying to remember the order of stuff. So then we have the bonus chapter, the extra, I can't remember what it was called exactly, with Eris. And obviously Eris, best girl. I really enjoyed this. I always enjoy the stuff that gives Eris more characterization. In terms of character, she's the weakest of the three wives. Roxy might give her a run for her money there. But in terms of character, she's the weakest of the three wives, and so kind of just to see her thought process a little bit, and to see more of her, it's just very good. And her training with the sword god, I thought this while reading, and I definitely think that had Eris not been so focused on Rudeus, she could have become sword god. Like if she had devoted herself, it's the question of what do you devote yourself to become sword god? Because we have Gino, saying, I want to live the way that I want to live, and I want to have what I want to have, and that's what gave him the push to become the sword god. It's the question of if Eris hadn't settled down with Rudeus, I definitely think she could have become sword god. She definitely has the potential and the smarts too. But we get to meet Auber. I think we've met Auber before at this point, maybe not. But Auber, no, yeah, he becomes a recurring character until later, until his death, I think, in volume 17. I could be wrong about that. And it's a good introduction, solid introduction to Eris. He's going to train her, and it says Eris becomes a North Saint. So it's like, okay, so she is growing, and this is one of the ways that she trains. And obviously later we get Rada and Isolde coming in. This isn't this book. This is what happens later. It's good to keep up with her, and to kind of see what she's doing. So her reintroduction in volume 15 is more like, okay, I know where Eris has been at this point. And then finally, to round it all off, we have the extra bonus. I can't remember what's what, with Norn, and I really enjoyed that. As far as I know, that's a light novel edition, because I don't remember reading that in the web novel, and I really enjoyed that. I really did. It really, we don't get that, and it helps us as the reader to make sense of why she feels the way she does. Not specifically to Rudeus, but in terms of Ruijerd. And obviously, her feelings towards Ruijerd is a very important thing to set up. Not just for the immediate future, but for the redundancy future. And I really enjoyed it. It's just super solid. You get to see Roxy again. Woo, go Roxy, Eris, best girl. I felt it was a really good addition, just to kind of get more inside of Norn's head, because Norn was definitely one of the lesser developed characters from the web novel, and I'm always more impressed with the light novel, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing how she does. And with that, my very long-winded review of Mushoku Tensei Volume 10 has finally come to a close. How about that? Well, I hope you guys enjoyed my rambling. I tried to keep it as organized as possible. But yeah, if you enjoyed, leave a like. If you're still watching, what you call it, you like something about it, or you just leave it in the background. Leave a like, subscribe, kiss your dog, whatever you want to do, show your support. And yeah, if you're watching this, whenever it's first published, I should have some other videos up. I'm planning to publish 3 at the same time to kind of give people an idea of what's going on. So, maybe you should check that out. And if you're watching this after it, a while after it's been published, I should have a lot more videos for you to check out. So thank you for watching, and